right now with Congressman Jim Himes. He's a Democrat from Connecticut, also importantly a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, it's always great to have you. Thank you so much. Just want to get your take on what Renee Marsh is reporting right there. We're looking at bomb threats being made against 3 separate commercial airline flights here in the United States. None of them seen as credible at this moment, but this is the 2nd week in a row that we're talking about this and we're looking at this, and people are getting pulled off planes, people are having all of their bags checked. Fortunately, nothing has happened so far, but this is a disturbing trend, no?
Well, it is. Unfortunately, this is obviously very much a breaking situation, but there doesn't appear to be any reason to believe that this is anything other than folks at this point in time. But that's still pretty serious. I mean, as you point out, it is, yes, an inconvenience to hundreds of people, but more to the point, and even more ominously, you take dozens, if not hundreds, of law enforcement officers off their posts and focus them on something that turns out to be a hoax. So, look, let's hope it's a hoax, and let's hope that we find out who the perpetrator is, because, people need to understand that this is may seem like a joke, but it's a profoundly serious thing.
Congressman's other breaking news this morning out of Boston, where Joint Terrorism Task Force had a man under surveillance. This man pulled a knife on the FBI agents and cops. That man was shot and killed. You sit on the Intelligence Committee inside the House. Have you heard anything about this incident in Boston yet? We heard from Michael Balboni, a CNN contributor here. He was saying that he's hearing perhaps that there had been some kind of online threats against police officers in Boston.
Yeah, I think, speaking for myself as a member of the Intelligence Committee, I have not yet been briefed, and this wouldn't be, unless this in fact had some sort of terrorism nexus to it, it's unlikely that we in Congress would be briefed. Remains to be seen. Obviously, if this is a law enforcement matter and it's just a guy who was, looks like perhaps emotionally disturbed or whatever, not likely to rise to the level of congressional notification, but that remains to be seen.
Well, Congressman, talking about the airlines again, I mean, this morning TSA has a new acting director following this report exposing such vulnerabilities in the TSA screening process. The fact that undercover agents could get through with weapons, with fake bombs.
With everything.
Almost every single time that they tried to in an undercover attempt. That not only is troubling, but it also raises the question, why is airport security still so vulnerable when we know that planes are targets?
Well, it's a great question, and it's one that's going to, pose a lot of questions around here. I have not yet had a chance to review that report, but look, all of us go through that security. We know how obtrusive, we know how inconveniencing it is to empty your pockets, to take the laptops off, to take your shoes out. If we go through all of that and it turns out that we can't even stop weapons and bombs, that the TSA fails to identify those things, we have a huge problem. So, as I said, this is a new report, but, this is really serious stuff, and I imagine it is going to be the subject of some pretty serious congressional hearings and figuring out exactly what's going on.
Congressman, as we speak, the Senate is expected to take another step forward toward passing the USA Freedom Act, which deals with domestic electronic surveillance, among other things. It's a bill you voted for and supported in the House. There's been a great deal of focus on electronic surveillance, but this week there are reports that the FBI owns a fleet of planes that it uses for surveillance over American cities, registered under corporate front names, and they say they don't need warrants to fly these planes to surveil and investigate U.S. citizens. Is this a cause of concern to you? Should it be?
Well, to take a little bit of a step back here, USA Freedom, which you referenced up front, is hopefully going to pass today in the Senate, precisely because it represents something that I think most people want, which is a scaling back, a careful scaling back, a nice compromise in scaling back of a lot of the more obtrusive authorities, surveillance authorities that were in the Patriot Act, in particular the metadata program that, of course, we all came to learn so much about after the Snowden revelations. But this program that you make reference to, what people need to remember is that the government does not have the authority anymore, and in particular, once USA Freedom passes the Senate, which ends bulk collection programs, it does not have the authority to simply gather in mass, in bulk, or I should say won't have the authority after this USA Freedom passes, in bulk, anybody's information. So, look, there are a lot of ways to surveil. There are cell phones, there are computers. When the government has reason to believe, or probable cause in legal terminology, to think that somebody may have a nexus into terrorism, or in the FBI's case, maybe associated with drug dealers or criminals or whatnot, yes, in that case, they are going to apply all of the tools at their disposal to listen in to somebody who is a target, because there is some probable cause for that person to be a target.
Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut, thank you so much for being with us. Please come back. A busy busy week in terms of intelligence and national
kidding.
security.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Congressman.
Thank you.